All right. Welcome, welcome. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed that nice musical selection here. I don't know if you saw me doing a little rumba shaking in the background here, but loving the playlist, but even more excited about our session today. So we have queued up a great panel discussion for all of you on here today. I am your host and MC, Alex Schutte. So I'm the Director of Digital Marketing for Paycor, which is a fast-growing HR and payroll software company based right here in Cincinnati. And I'm actually from Cincinnati originally, but I graduated from Arizona State University in 2007 with a degree in marketing and a minor in communications. I was actually a gymnast for them, so if this would have been an in-person thing, maybe I could have done a backflip at the end to celebrate. But hey, here we are in the virtual space, but we're still going to make it work and make a lot of fun for today, and hopefully a lot of learning for you guys too. So I've had the pleasure of leading digital transformation efforts here at Paycor and really helped grow my team's revenue by over 526% over my 5 years at Paycor. And I've had the pleasure of leading a high-powered but geographically dispersed global team across 4 different time zones with an aggressive growth goal in a fast-paced environment. So this virtual digital stuff, right up my alley. And outside of work, you can catch me putting my certification as a bourbon steward to the test, or as giving back as the marketing chairman for Below the Surface, a nonprofit that helps solve the water crisis in Ethiopia. And I actually co-founded CINC, the very program that you're here with us today, back in 2013 as part of my Cincinnati Chamber Leadership Program project to really attract and retain young talent in the region such as yourself. And here we are, 7 years later, still going strong. So let me tell you a little bit more about CINC. So CINC is, first of all, stands for Cincinnati Intern Network Connection. It does have nothing to do with the old boy band back in the 90s. CINC is a series of free summer events handcrafted by local university, corporate, and community leaders that's really mission is about exposing interns and co-ops to all that Cincinnati has to offer by connecting students to each other and the region. So CINC aims to really make that Cincinnati experience educational, fun, memorable, and valuable. And our mission is really to help keep young folks and professionals like yourself living and working in Cincinnati and really seeing Cincinnati as a place that you can grow personally, professionally, and really have a strong life here in the city. Now, things are a little bit weird, so we're doing this all virtually this year instead of having the in-person events that we might typically have. But we didn't want all that effort that we've been putting in to really think about how do we make Cincinnati attractive for you guys to go to waste. So we put together really a series of a couple of events virtually. So this is our final event that we're super excited to really kick off, but we could not do any of this without the helps of our fabulous sponsors. So if you flip to this one, our main sponsors here, Xavier University and University of Cincinnati. I'm sure many of you on the call right now are from these fabulous universities, but we also had our excellence investors of Western and Southern Financial Group and P&G, which again, P&G and Western Southern, great local community stalwarts that are really driving not just innovation, but creating jobs and really providing folks like interns and co-ops a new space to really grow their careers and find a home. And then last but not least, our participating investors, Northern Kentucky University, ADM, Kroger, Ernst & Young, and Miami University. So let's talk about what we're really here today to talk through. So you all, unfortunately, are part of a once-in-a-generation time where we have a pandemic that's really gripped the world and turned everything that we know upside down in a matter of just a few months. So no matter which industry you're in, you've been impacted in some way. Some industries are growing, some are declining. We've had record job losses, but it doesn't mean that all hope is lost. So we really wanted to put together a few different sessions for you today to get some additional perspective from either folks that may have gone through something similar. Now, not quite a pandemic. We don't have anyone that's over 100 years old on this call, but we have some folks that maybe went through some similar economic times back when they were students and in your shoes. But we also want to give you guys tips for how to navigate this crazy environment that we're in, not just from an economic perspective, but also from a virtual perspective. So we have two great panelists here today. And the first panel that we have on the screen there, it's really about that economic environment. So what can you do right now? Again, all hope is not lost. What are the right industries to target? Which particular roles we actually may see growth in this type of environment versus others, and just tips for really how to navigate a really tough time and really land hopefully on your feet to start that career that you really are all excited about doing. So on this panel, I'll be the moderator, so I'll be firing off all those questions to our esteemed panelists here. The folks that will be on the panel with me, so we have Aaron Burdett of the University of Cincinnati, Tiara Dobbins with Mercy Health, Eugene Partridge, a fellow Paycor associate of mine, and finally Claire Rexroad as well with the Department of Energy. For our second panel, this is where we really will get into that thriving in a virtual environment. So I'm sure all of you are digital natives. Of course, you're used to social media, and likely you've grown up very connected to digital devices. But this is very new for the working world. So many companies, especially in older industries, may not have necessarily had the technology in place or had the systems or processes to really adapt to a virtual first environment in some cases. So there's still different companies that are grappling with how to bring back employees to an office, whether you will or not. What is that long-term impact of having work from home versus in-office traditional desks? All this is being revamped as we speak, but many of you will be coming out of school if you're looking to graduate this year in an environment where you may not be doing those in-person interviews. So how do you really interview well virtually? So you may be doing Zoom calls like this. Those of you that are on today, I encourage you to actually turn on your video. Please stay on mute because we don't want to hear the background noise. But if you want to turn your video on, you'll just notice that when you're visually engaged via video, there tends to be a little bit more connection and engagement that you can get. So if you're interviewing virtually, what are some tips that our panelists have to really still show up strong and really showcase your personality and professionalism while making sure that you can do your best to put your foot forward in that interview to land that job that we all want. So on this panel, we have Mitch is going to be the moderator on this one. We have Crystal Thompson, who's leading talent acquisition at CDK Global. Nick, who's within the HCM software space as well. So Ulimai, I think if I'm saying that right. We have Barbara Turner Michelson, who's a career coach at Xavier. And then finally, Shayla, who does university relations with the Cincinnati Insurance Company. So we have a lot of great folks on the panels today. We have a series of questions that we can actually ask that we've prepared, but we definitely encourage you guys, if you want to ask questions, feel free to do so in the chat. As the moderators, we can start to feed those questions over to the panelists, and we want to make this ultimately as valuable as we can for you. So really for us, our goal is to make sure that you guys are prepared, that you know the current landscape, and that you feel armed and ready to put your best foot forward to really do well and land that dream job that you want. And obviously, we would love if you can do it within Cincinnati and the great companies that we have here. So a little bit of the logistics for how this is all going to work. So hopefully you guys all, when you registered, you got to sign up for one of these two great panels. So once you signed up for those, we actually have that stored already, and so you'll be automatically placed into a Zoom breakout room. So all that should happen automatically in the background. Now, if you land in one room and you're like, oh, you know what, I actually didn't want to be in this room, there is a way that you can leave the room, come back to the waiting room, and then our IT person, Spencer, is going to make sure that you get into the proper room that you would like. So we're going to have, really the bulk of this today is going to be focused on these panels, asking the questions that matter to you guys, and we're going to be automatically kicked out of these breakouts and put back right into this room that we're all in now at 4:50. So again, definitely encourage you guys to engage, interact, answer your questions that come in, and we will be recording the breakouts. So if you are in one session, but you want to know what the tips are in that other session, don't worry. We're recording all this, so watch what you say, but you're going to be able to actually hear all this great content that's being shared at a later date once we send that out. So with that, Spencer, are you ready to put us in our breakout rooms? Let's do it. Guys, we'll give it a minute or two to get put into your breakout rooms, and we'll see you on the other side with our panelists. See you soon. Oh man, don't you just love that Zoom magic? We're all like time travelers going in and out, different spaces, different rooms. A lot of fun. Okay. So we're going to give another 30 seconds or so for everyone to make it back here to the start. But I'll tell you what, time flies, man. Not just in this Zoom meeting, but I feel like COVID world in general. February feels about 2 years ago, but you guys are doing everything that you can to make sure that you're prepared as best as possible to come out in this unprecedented times. So a few things in closing here. So I'm going to have myself give just a couple of quick call outs from my panel, and then I'll have Mitch do the same for his panel. So we had a great discussion. Our panelists were talking about really this unprecedented time that we're living in, where this health crisis has turned into an economic crisis. There's more unemployment figures than ever before. That means that there's fewer jobs available and more people looking for them, where you could not only be competing with another fellow college grad, but also someone that's been in the labor force for many more years. How do you stand out in that, and what's the economic impact? So a few things that were highlighted in my session was really how Cincinnati itself is positioned well for this actual pandemic and this economic fallout that we've had. We have a diverse set of industries. So I myself am in a software company. There's others that are both private and public sector, public jobs, government, different industries, software, retail. We really have a nice cross section of industries. And then as you think about this new virtual first environment that many folks are living in, really companies now are saying, hey, maybe I don't need to spend a ton of money on someone that is based in San Francisco, and you no longer have to move to San Francisco for that tech job. You could work where you want, have that nice salary, but actually take advantage of a lower cost of living at a place like Cincinnati. And really the perspective that people gave when it came to some of their own experiences when they graduated in the last recession that we had, kind of that 2008, 2009 and beyond, was really not settling for that first job. So we know that it's scary. We know that you all are nervous. Are you going to land that job? Will it be the right job? Really thinking about what is that target industry? What are those roles? What are those industries that are still seeing growth even in this time? Thinking about how do you future-proof that job and go into a role or a space that's actually accelerating and hiring. And then always remember, your first job does not have to be your last job. So there are going to be other opportunities, but the key thing is starting that career trajectory on the right foot and then navigating through this economic uncertainty and really taking your own personal experiences and being the digital natives that many of you are and using that to your competitive advantage to really help guide and shape these companies as everyone's looking to adapt and transform to a more digital-based future in their companies. So a lot of great discussion. I appreciate the panelists that were on my session. Mitch, if you're out there, I would love to hear from you, any takeaways you had from your session.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for that, Alex. Looks like you guys definitely had a great discussion. I think we did it as well. I think we had a ton of people engaged. We had some questions being asked as well. First, one thing that really just stuck out to me was in trying to decide how to thrive in this virtual environment. A lot of people are unsure how to navigate these waters. I can definitely be uneasy, especially for someone just starting or continuing their college career right now. And one thing was that we can definitely make sure that we're constantly networking through the college career. Constantly listening through feedback of peers or intern experiences is definitely like a really good start point. Definitely don't take any opportunity for granted. Always make the most of it. I think a lot of people were curious on how to continue their career during this, and the networking is huge where you can continue meeting new people as well, and you never know what opportunity would take you somewhere. And with that, following up is obviously to continue asking questions. I know this was something that we talked about that kind of honed true to me as a recent grad was asking questions. The worst someone can really say is no. And with that being said, you want to take chances, and kind of rolls back to saying never downplay some of those experiences that you do. Want to gain something from everything, even if it's just a simple meet and greet. Always make sure. I know we had a couple of panelists mention that get the email, make sure you're dressing professional. There's a couple small things that you can do that will really carry you, I think, to get into that job environment, especially being so virtual right now. And I think with that is attitude. Attitude can be a lot of different aspects of interviewing, going through those different interviews right now. Some people may not be spectacular on the phone. I know, just like me, I'd really like to express and get to know the person who would be sitting face to face. But right now, you have to do, all this virtual stuff. So definitely don't downplay anything. Take as most you possibly could. And one of my personal favorites that came out from our breakout session that I'll end with here was the term a howdy. A howdy would be a informational meetup. I think that's super important. I know I completely took advantage of this. Just, if you have a recruiter or someone you can network with, ask them to get a simple coffee or lunch, just to kind of like go out and just informally kind of meet them, obviously have some questions in the back pocket that are intriguing, maybe about their business or the marketplace, just trying to get some sort of, facts down that I think, you'll definitely see the long-term effect there. You never know where connections would definitely start, and obviously help you so much through this virtual environment and how to thrive as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love the takeaways you had there. Again, this virtual environment we're all in, who knows how long we're going to have to be in this, so you might as well figure out how to adapt and use it to your advantage to ultimately take your career to that next level that you all are looking to do. So really appreciate everyone for their engagement, registering for this, attending, putting in the work to really think through how to position yourself for success. So our hope is that you learned a lot. A few reminders before we wrap up here. So there is going to be a survey that's going to be sent out. So check your email for that. We just want to make sure that you guys found value in this, if you had any additional things you were hoping to cover, and just how to make this program as best as it can, especially for those interns that aren't necessarily graduating this year. We would love to have you back for other CINC events next year. So special shout out to our investors, our participants, and then a big, big thank you to the full committee of CINC here. We definitely could not do it without our key leaders and really everyone that's been on this. So special shout out to even the behind the scenes folks that are making sure the Zoom is working right, that create the PowerPoint, everyone that really had their hands in this. We really, really appreciate it. And I hope that you all have seen the value and felt the love and passion that all of us on the panel and everyone involved has for the city. And we hope that you'll come to love Cincinnati as well. So with that, I'm going to see if there's any other questions here in the chat. Christina, any other closing thoughts here to add before we wrap up?
No, I think you did great, Alex, and everybody, thank you so much for joining. I put a note in the chat. You'll be receiving a recap email, hopefully no later than this weekend, coming at you from CINC. That'll include, I wrote down a few of the resources that everyone was sharing today. We'll get some of those links out for some of those job sites, but thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to our panelists. I think your perspective is just so valuable, so thank you again. And Alex, I think with that, I think we're good. Let me look. It looks like we have one quick question. Will other webinars or Zooms be offered through the fall semester? That's a great question, Kavita. We, at this point, don't have any plans to do additional webinars or virtual sessions, but maybe that's something that we can take back to the rest of the team at the Chamber and the CINC Planning Committee and see if maybe there's some things that we can do throughout the year, given everything going on. So we'll take that back, and be sure to put that feedback in the survey, because that'll be probably one of the best ways for us to get that bubbled up to the rest of the team.
That's awesome. Okay, well, that'll do it for us here at CINC. Again, we appreciate all the time and attention. Good luck to all those graduating seniors. You guys got this. We believe in you. Tons of resources hopefully you got today. And those that are still continuing your journey, good luck on your internships this summer, and have a great rest of the year. Take care, guys. Look out for the recording, all those emails, and we'll see you soon.